Namaste, good morning. This is Naveen Gursidaya, your self empowerment coach. I empower people to overcome problems in their lives by enabling them go deep within. Welcome to the Empowerment for Excellence with Naveen show. Today, we have a very interesting person. Her name is Shantera Chatman. She is a corporate culture consultant or organization culture consultant, and she also likes to call herself as a transformative ally. She wants to speak about the importance of culture and values in any organization, why the culture is an important foundation for the growth of any organization or a company. So let's go ahead and directly interact with Shantira and get all the valuable inputs from her. Good afternoon, Shantira.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. How about you, Shantira? How have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. Staying busy, staying inside, the usual.
Ha, I know. Hope things come back to normal soon.
They will. They
So
will.
great, great. So thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Empowerment for Excellence with Naveen Show. Truly appreciate your excitement, truly appreciate your interest and dedicating so much time with me and sharing a lot on your forte, your skills. I'm pretty excited to know a lot about it. So can't wait to go ahead and ask you the first question. Can I go ahead?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You want to say anything before we start? Or I start asking
Just thank you.
questions?
No, just thank you for, allowing me to be here on your platform. I'm excited to be able to share more about what I do. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. So, Shantira, let's begin with me asking you the first question. So, corporate culture, right? So, that's the topic of the day today. So, what exactly does it take to become a transformative ally?
That's a really good question because when I created the Transformative Ally Framework, I wanted to make it clear, what I thought needed to happen in order to be,
Hmm.
an ally. And so I feel like first and foremost, it takes truth and honesty, being able to be honest with yourself. And it also takes having an open mind and
Hmm.
being willing to listen, being willing to have empathy and be able to empathize with others. Those are the skills that I feel like it takes to be an ally. But there's also kind of like this path that I like to say people need to be on. And first, to be an ally and to be a transformative ally,
Hmm.
I feel like you need to truly understand what it takes to be an advocate, which is different from being an ally,
Hmm.
and also what it takes for you to truly support someone, even if you don't 100% agree with some of the things that they feel, but you still want to be a support to
Hmm.
that person or that group. And also there's this notion of being able to coexist and being able to work together in spite
Absolutely.
of all of those other things. So I feel like with
Absolutely.
those three things, that's kind of the path and the journey that I like to take my clients on,
Hmm.
but also
Hmm.
making sure they understand that they need to be able to open themselves up and open their mind and open their hearts and be able to put themselves in someone else's shoes.
So it's I get this feeling that it's not easy being a transformative ally.
It just takes work, and it's one of those things that's never finished. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just one day you say, okay, I've done all the work, I'm now an ally. No, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Life happens, as you know, and things change and experiences change, and it changes how we feel and how we think about certain things and how we
Yes.
have our outlook on different scenarios. So there's a constant little bit of work that you always have to do because each person needs something different. So
Yes.
being able to
Yes.
say,
Yes.
for instance, that you're an ally of, the Black community or the Latino community. They all need something different, and each
Mm-hmm.
person is
Mm-hmm.
unique.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes work, and it is and sometimes hard because you have to try to understand something that you may not have been open to or privy to in your earlier years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I think the world out there and community should be very happy that we have someone like you, Shantera Chatman, who's an ally and who's passionate about it and who's doing so much to bring in a difference. Thank you so much. My personal compliments to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a passion to be able to just help people be able to work better. And the cool thing about what we do is it's not just about work. Once you learn how to do this, once you put yourself out there and you're open and understanding what an ally is, that
Yes,
bleeds naturally into your personal life. So it's not just about your job. It's about opening yourself up to being a better person.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's so noble, truly noble.
Thank
So
you.
having said that, so how important it is to build or rebuild a company culture, especially during these times of change, what we are seeing around.
Oh my gosh. Right now, one, it's important, but at the same time, it's like the perfect time to do it because there's so much change, because voices are being heard around the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is the perfect time for a company to take a step back, look at their culture. And I'm not talking just about, looking at the ethnicities and, the nationalities of the people that work for them, but also look at the mission and vision. What have you said you are going to do and
Mm-hmm.
build for your company? This is
Yeah.
absolutely the perfect time to do that because the world is watching.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
they see companies that are being courageous, because this work is courageous, to be able to make some changes and make a difference, it does take that level of courage to do it. If you see a company that's doing that, you start paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who are looking for opportunities to work at progressive companies, this
Mm-hmm.
is the type of work that people are looking to see happen. So it's like the perfect time to do something different.
Oh, wow. So everyone should become conscious about it and start paying attention because this is a perfect time, as you said, right?
Right. And there's so many people, like myself that are willing to help. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much help out there. So right now, I think the spotlight is on those companies who want to be helped and those people who are wanting to help. So I think this is really the perfect time, and it's so important to seize this day, and seize the opportunity to be able to do something, build
Mm-hmm.
something different, because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to make a difference with your company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you so much for letting the viewers know that there are many people out there like you who are coming up with a mission, with a noble mission, I must say that, to bring in a lot of improvements in the
Mhm.
society with all the tough times and the challenging times out there. Thank you so much for letting us know that.
Absolutely.
So you said about mission and vision, right? So
Right.
can you please tell me what are the values a company should consider when they are building a culture?
The first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is respect.
Yeah,
That is, I
agreed,
feel like
agreed.
that is a huge core value that we see written on the walls at a lot of
Hmm.
companies,
Hmm.
but you
Hmm.
may not feel that when you walk in the company's door.
Hmm.
So I think companies should focus on building that respect and
Hmm.
doing the work to build respect.
Hmm.
It is not automatic. It is not automatically given or received. And so you want to be able to understand what it's going to take to foster an environment where everyone respects one another, wherever you may not agree with someone's lifestyle, you may not agree with what they believe in, but you respect them as a professional and as a person that you're working with. And the other value that I feel like is huge is honesty.
Mm.
Honesty
True.
goes a long way to building trust. Leaders these days don't have the trust of their teams. They think they do just because they have a title. But for the most part, a lot of people don't trust
Hmm.
their leaders. And that's because they don't trust them. They don't trust that they're telling them the truth. During this COVID-19, I've had so many clients that said, I don't want to tell my team that I don't know what's next. I should have all the answers. Well, the truth
Hmm.
of the matter is no one has all the answers. So if you
Very
just
true.
tell them what you know and explain to them what you don't know, and what's coming next and what you're doing, you're making them understand your process, they will respect the fact that you are learning with them, that you're putting yourself out there. It's going to help you build credibility. Oddly enough, telling someone what you don't know actually builds credibility and builds trust. So I think those two values are huge: respect and honesty.
Wow. Wow. In fact, along with saying respect and honesty, which is very true, and I personally believe it in those two values a lot. You also said about credibility and trust. Those are the sub values which are like offsprings of honesty and respect, right? So, yep, totally agree with you, Shantera, and you're so bang on when you mention about those values. It actually gives me goosebumps, because everyone should be mindful of these values and practice it in the everyday life, right? And that's what makes culture strong, right?
Right. You have to be intentional about it. It's not that it's just there one day and it's going to last for years and months. No, you have to be intentional about respecting people every day. You have to be intentional about what it's going to take to build the trust, which means the honesty, which means making sure that you're a credible resource for your team. Those are things you have to focus on doing. And you have to ensure that your team knows that you're focused on those things.
Yes. So true. So well said, actually. So when we talk about leadership and teams, can you please tell us what's the most difficult thing for companies to do when it comes to culture development?
One of the most difficult things I found that for companies to do is to acknowledge bias. So it goes back to that truth and being honest with themselves. No one wants to say that they have a bias, right? No one wants to believe that they give in to the unconscious biases that are there, but we all do because we're all human. And the one key thing that I work on, which actually is one of the first things that I work with my clients on when I'm talking about advocacy, it's about recognizing and deciding to do something about the unconscious biases. And a lot of clients struggle with that. They struggle with, just being open and vulnerable in that way. And that's what tends to shut down conversations. That's what stops the progress. That's what hinders someone from being an ally or even being an advocate for that matter, is that they don't want to acknowledge that they have a flaw. Everyone feels like they're a superhero. No, we are not. And the other thing is power, relinquishing power. I mentioned vulnerability. And the one thing that has to happen in order for an organization to feel like there's true equity and, everyone feels inclusive in their organization is those with power have to be willing to relinquish some of that power. And when I say that, I mean, they have to be willing to be transparent about what they are able to do, about what powers have been bestowed upon them, but be able to be willing to say, I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to advocate for you in this manner, which means I'm going to use my power, my influence to get you in the door, to get you a seat at the table. And even though that sounds like something people are supposed to do, managers are supposed to do, not many truly do it. They only do it to a certain extent, to feel like they will do it to get acknowledged versus doing it just even if it was behind closed doors and no one knew you were doing it. So we have to find that selflessness and within leaders and within teams. So those are the things, the unconscious biases, and being able to acknowledge those and do the work to correct them, and also be willing to relinquish some of the power.
Wow. So the leaders should be very much, thinking with a foresight in mind, kind of a succession planning. And when you say relinquishing, it's just not shedding off some responsibilities. It's being responsible in order to see that the legacy of leadership is carried forward, right? So that's the message I'm getting from such deep thoughts, which you mentioned when answering this question.
Yeah. I think that there's this opportunity that leaders have
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, when they're planning, we should always be working for the next level, right? Which
Yeah.
means that someone else needs to take your seat. If you're going to make it to CEO, someone needs to be in your spot, right? So that
Yes. Yes.
means, and even the CEOs, they're always looking to see who's going to be in the C-suite with them or after them. You
Yes.
have to be willing to let someone in the room so
Mm-hmm.
they can get the experience needed in order to take your spot when it's time. So that means you need to share the wealth, share your power, and say, I'm going to introduce you to these people, or I'm going to allow you to sit in on a meeting, or, those types of things are what's needed. And it's just the selflessness, as I mentioned, that needs to happen. And forget about politics, forget about
Mm-hmm.
all of those things that get in the way, and think about, I already know that this person really wants it. They have the
So
skill
true.
set. Let's just try to help them get there. I mean, what
So
do you
true.
have to lose? Because you're already there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So wonderful to hear these pointers coming in from you, Shantara. They're really very nice, and they have such deep meaning. Whatever you're saying, all people have to do is just listen to you and relate to the message you're sending out through this interview. That's awesome. That's truly awesome. So another important question. So,
Okay.
what makes you think that culture is really important in the growth factor of a particular company or organization?
I think that culture is what's going to define companies moving forward. I think because right now the light
Wow.
has been placed on so many companies for having poor
Mm-hmm.
culture,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now people are focused on it. So that means candidates for jobs, people who are looking to interview for different companies, they're now Googling the C-suites of these companies. They're looking at who's leading them.
Mm-hmm.
They're researching people that work for those companies and trying to figure out if they like being there. They're trying to understand what this culture is about before I go in the room. Are they worthy of having me interview for the job? It's what's happening right now.
Yes.
So I think companies need to understand that right now their culture is what's being examined and investigated more so than anything else. So
Mm-hmm.
even though they are interviewing someone for a position, that person is in turn interviewing them.
Mm.
And those
Right. Right.
companies that have the great cultures, that are open, that are honest, that are at least saying we're trying to change,
Mm-hmm.
those are the companies that are going to get the best candidates. Their talent pool is going to be overflowing with diversity of thought, with diversity, from different nationalities and age groups, which means that they are going to be the ones that have the most talented staff, and their bottom lines are going to increase because of it. So I think that
Wow.
culture, everything leads back to culture right now.
Wow. Wow. So powerful. So powerful thought in that particular point. So the bottom line is in fact sitting on a foundation called culture. Am I right in putting it in
Right.
simple words?
Right. That is
Mm.
exactly right. Because those people, if you have a strong culture, they're going to want to work for you, right? And they're going to want to give you not just their 100%, but some days you're going to need 110. They're going to give you the 110. If you have a terrible culture, you're going to barely get the 100. You may get 75 and 50%, which
And
means that's
yeah,
what your bottom line is going to look like.
and that can be very expensive for companies.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, yeah, um, I'm pretty much done with the questions which I had listed down to ask you, Shantara. So,
Okay.
what would your message be for the viewers of this particular show?
I would say for those who are leaders or who are in leadership positions that are
Hmm.
watching,
Hmm.
be courageous. Step out and be willing to do the work. Be willing to open yourself up and say, I need help, because there are so many of us, people like me, that are experts in this area that are willing to help, that are willing to partner with you. So don't look at consultants or look at us as outside people who are just coming to take your money. Look
Yes.
at us as partners who are trying to help you to achieve your goals. So be courageous, step out and do the work. And for those who are not leaders, but who are working within organizations, share this type of information with your bosses, with your
Hmm.
leaders. This podcast, the conversation we're having, This is something that could be shared out on an intranet.
Yes.
Help write articles, be a part of discussions. As much as you feel like you have the bandwidth to share your knowledge. And, one person can start to change a team, and that team can start to change an organization, and so on and so forth. So try to be the change that you want your organization to become, and do the things that you feel like you can within your, within your purview to be able to do that. So it takes courage, not just from the leader's side, but also from those who are working in the ranks as well.
Awesome. Wonderful. So there's so much of learnings which are there in that message, Shantera. And I'm sure whoever is listening to this show and watching this show would have a lot of value coming out of that particular message, which you said it in the end, and also whatever topics and the important aspects of corporate culture or organization culture, especially in these tough times which you shared. They're truly wonderful. And in fact, I would say they are like invaluable. It's priceless is the right word I was trying to search in my mind. Truly priceless, and truly appreciate you taking out time and getting on this show to send that message across to the whole world, so that people bring in that consciousness and the mindfulness to relate to these aspects which you have covered in the last 20 minutes or 30 minutes and implement it in their lives. And I'm sure they're going to find it really, really beneficial. So thank you so much, Shantera. Truly appreciate your time and efforts here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time to be able to have the conversation about it. Thank you for having the platform for me to share.
Great. Truly, pleasure's all mine. Thanks a lot. You take care. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.